How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Monsters. This is Season 1, Episode 10, and this one's entitled Pillow Talk. This episode came out December 24th, so Christmas Eve, of 1988, and was directed by Carl Stine. And to clarify, I said Carl, not R.L. Stine. Kind of weird that it's so close, though. But anyway, this episode stars John Diehl, Mary Woronov, and Ruth de Sosa. And I have to say, this is a fun little episode. Not the biggest and best episode ever, but it is a goofy enough episode that I had quite a bit of fun with it. And there is a little bit going on under the surface where they talk about writing, or they talk about comparing horror and romance. You know, there is a little bit more to this, and it's not just haha goofy creature, but it is a goofy creature. It's a classic Monsters low-budget episode, 2 sets and 3 actors. It was relatively cheap, but you take that money you saved and you spend it on giving us a big, dumb, goofy creature that I absolutely love. It is super, super cool. You know, you get some tropes that I really do love. The idea of I must take you back to my house to feed my creature, that's always cool. But it's also the trope of taking something innocuous and trying to make it scary, which horror movies do all the time, and the more innocuous, the funner it is when you try to make it scary. In this episode, it's a bed. The bed, you'll sit on it, a big mouth will open up, complete with teeth, and a big tentacle to wrap around you and pull you down. It's some pretty cool, crazy stuff, although I do have to say, this isn't the first time that horror fans have seen a killer bed. If you guys are fans of classic horror, you may remember Deathbed, the bed that eats. And the thing is, you know, it's not just a bed. It's another bed that eats people, which makes it a little more oddly specific. I do want to say, how the bed eats people is different from Deathbed. Deathbed, you would, like, dissolve in some goo. But it's just a little strange that there would be 2 eating beds. But the plot outside of the creature is different. So I don't want to say it's a carbon copy. It's just a very similar creature, which is a little hard to ignore. But that being said, I mean, we didn't stop making slashers after Halloween or found footage after Paranormal Activity. You know, as long as you're doing enough different, I do like horror's tendency to take ideas, build and change and move on with them. It's just right on that line of maybe being a little bit too close, but whatever. What are you gonna do? At least it did remind me about Deathbed and how much I loved it, and it really, like, I probably should rewatch it sometime soon because that was such a big, goofy, fun, over-the-top movie. Yeah, Deathbed's really cool. I need to watch it again. But anyway, overall a fun enough episode. Like I said, big fun goofy creature, lots of my favorite tropes, and a little bit more going on under the surface. Not perfect, but fun, and I can definitely recommend it, although yeah, not the biggest and best Monsters episode or anything. But let's talk a bit about the plot in order to break down and analyze it further. I won't be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the episode's about. So I won't spoil the end, but let's dig a little deeper. We open up with a guy and a girl, and the guy is taking the girl back to his house. We find out the guy is a horror writer, and strangely, not an analog for Stephen King. Almost all the time, whenever you see a horror writer in a piece of horror media, it's just a stand-in for King. I don't know. To me, this guy feels a little bit more like Dean Koontz. But anyway, he's a little shy, a little socially awkward, a little nervous. But she is absolutely starstruck, and she is 100% on board with this and just really excited that she's going back to his place. And the two talk for, honestly, an opening scene that goes on a little bit too long for as awkward as it is. But we will get to the good stuff. He'll pull down the bedspread because apparently it can't eat through that. And then all of a sudden she gets pulled in and eaten. And it actually almost looks a little bit like the classic Evil Dead poster, which is pretty cool when she gets pulled in. But it's this big moment that you're not really expecting. Okay, yeah, if you watched this before, I did ruin it, but I can't talk about the episode without talking about this, and it happens before the halfway mark, whatever. Anyway, though, it's this big crazy moment. It introduces a big crazy character, and now we have this sitting on the table, so when he brings over the next girl, we know potentially what could happen. The bomb is metaphorically under the table, and we're nervous it's going to go off again. Well, the next girl he brings over won't be quite as easy to feed to your creature. She's going to be a little sharper, and she'll know that something's up. It's something that intrigues her, but she might be dangerous. She's actually a writer herself, and she says, "Oh, you write horror, I write romance. Don't you think they're a little bit connected, The master in my book might be a mysterious gentleman that has control, and the temptation is love and not dark desires." So I do like they do take a moment to write a little bit here and do a fairly interesting analysis. And also, she'll find his diary, which she mistakes for a manuscript and wants to read it. So she thinks it's fictional, which is a pretty fun gag. I do think it's really interesting, but also gives us backstory without being too clunky, and we get to hear some interesting things about the bed. And when she questions him, later in the episode, it leads to a scene that I really do love, where she's like, "But why would the master do this?" And he gets super serious and defensive, like, You don't know the master. It's the way it is. It's the way it must be done." And I do like how defensive he gets, and it does imply some sort of strange psychological hold. He's not just being greedy, he is definitely being overpowered and manipulated, which makes our lead a little bit more sympathetic than if he was just killing these women just because he wanted to, But anyway, we will get eventually, wondering if this new girl is going to be clever enough to make her way out. And we do get a pretty fun ending that wasn't exactly what I saw coming. I mean, if you've seen anthology horror, you may have a general idea, but a fun little gag with the end of this episode too that I thought was pretty fun. So yeah, a big, dumb, goofy monster, a little bit more wheels turning under the surface, and overall, just a really fun episode. That is, if you can get past the strange similarities to 1977's Deathbed. But whatever, might as well have two beds, right? Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Monsters playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about the past episodes of the show, you should be able to find them there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.